Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com, setting the record straight about climate. Climate alarmists are quite literally taking us back to the Dark Ages. George Orwell said, "The further a society drifts from the truth, the more it will hate those that speak it." A vice president at the University of Alberta was just fired for telling the truth about carbon dioxide. The vice president of university relations at the University of Alberta has stepped down from her position amidst backlash over a billboard promoting potential benefits of climate change. The billboard, located on 178th Street in the West End, read, "Beefier barley," with subheadings saying, "Climate change will boost Alberta's barley yield with less water feeding more cattle." Scientifically, there's nothing in the least controversial about what the billboard said. NASA recently released a study showing how much Earth has greened due to carbon dioxide fertilization. From a quarter to half of Earth's vegetated lands has shown significant greening over the last 35 years, largely due to rising levels of atmospheric carbon dioxide, according to a new study published in the journal Nature Climate Change on April 25th. An international team of 32 authors from 24 institutions in 8 countries led the effort, which involved using satellite data from NASA's Moderate Resolution Imaging Spectrometer. Corn yields have increased by 500% since CO2 was at 310 parts per million. What that billboard said was absolutely correct, and she lost her job for being a heretic to the climate religion. David Legates was the Delaware state climatologist, and he lost his job for similar reasons. He wrote this in an email to me. "About a decade or more ago, I was told by someone that I had been placed on a federal do not fund list. Undaunted, I applied for a grant from NASA. Well, the proposal was rejected, but the letter back from NASA contained only a single review sheet that was blank except for the following note written in the comments section. The National Climatic Data Center should be funded to do this research. When I contacted the program officer, Jared Enton, he indicated that he was on vacation but would investigate right away. I've called and emailed. I've yet to hear back from him. Several years later, I applied to the U.S. Department of Agriculture to leverage weather radar to enhance agricultural forecasting. My proposal was submitted electronically and was listed as under review. In due course, I received a note from the USDA that all proposals had either been rejected or accepted, and they thanked me for my submission. Since I had not heard from them, I went online and checked my proposal. It was listed as under review. I sent an email to the program officer, and one of his assistants responded. She seemed so friendly and helpful and wanted to know more about the proposal that I had submitted. When I gave her the proposal ID number, I received a terse reply. "You'll have to take this up with the program officer." So I did. We played the same game again. He then stopped answering emails or phone calls. Eventually I got the university research office to inquire. They said they were told by the program officer that we cannot be responsible for system problems. I have submitted a total of 5 federal grants since I was told. All 5 have met the same fate. No bad reviews, no reviews at all, and the program officer cuts off all communications. In the 1980s, John Darcy was convicted of fraud. He had made up data and nearly 50 papers were rejected. His penalty: he was forbidden from getting grants from the NIH for 10 years. I've been convicted of nothing. Indeed, I've been charged with nothing, but I've been blacklisted. This is how the climate orthodoxy purges heretics. Similarly, the Oregon state climatologist was fired for telling the truth about snow in the Cascade Mountains. He butted heads with the alarmist mayor of Seattle. Roger Pilkey Jr. from the University of Colorado was investigated by congressional Democrats for telling the truth about extreme weather frequency. There was never any basis to the investigation, and he was forced out of climate science for several years. I heard him speak about this last week at the University of Colorado. Chemistry professor Nicholas Trapella of Oregon State University was fired because he was a climate skeptic. OSU is a hotbed of climate change advocacy. Carrie Norgard, another professor at OSU, equates climate change skepticism with racism and believes it should be treated as a sickness or mental illness. This is exactly the same way which the Soviet Union dealt with dissenters. My good friend Dr. Bill Gray at Colorado State University was the world's leading tropical meteorologist and the man who invented modern hurricane forecasting. Bill was a giant of a man in every way. In 1993, Dr. Gray was invited to a climate conference being held by new Vice President Al Gore. Bill told the Vice President that he would be happy to attend, but he's not a big fan of Gore's theories about global warming. After decades of getting funding from NOAA every year for his outstanding research, Bill never got another penny out of the government. I spoke about this last year with one of NOAA's top tropical meteorologists. He agreed with me that Bill had been mistreated by his colleagues and said, well, he threatened their funding, you know. And that's a key point. Having a climate skeptic in your midst threatens funding for the entire department, so Bill was ostracized by the department at Colorado State University. I would walk the halls with Dr. Gray at CSU's Atmospheric Sciences Department, and many people wouldn't even make eye contact with him. Bill was an extremely friendly and an extremely likable person, but he was a heretic and he threatened their funding. On his deathbed, Bill asked me to carry on his climate legacy, and that's a lot of the reason why I'm doing this. Peter Ridd from James Cook University was fired for telling the truth about the Great Barrier Reef. He was supposed to say that climate change was destroying the Great Barrier Reef, but it isn't true. And Dr. Ridd was recently awarded $1.2 million by the court for his unfair dismissal. The Alabama state climatologist Dr. John Christie actually had his office fired at by Earth Day protesters. His co-worker Dr. Roy Spencer said, when some people cannot argue facts, they resort to violence to get their way. He said, maybe the March for Science should have been called the March to Silence. President Obama's Secretary of the Interior, Sally Jewell, directly threatened climate skeptics in the Department of the Interior. She said, I hope there are no climate change deniers in the Department of the Interior. She knows nothing about science, but she told anyone who does that they better keep their mouth closed. President Obama, who also knows nothing about science, compared climate skeptics to the Flat Earth Society. One of these flat earthers was Nobel laureate in physics, Dr. Ivar Giaever. Dr. Giaever had supported Obama in the election. Giaever said, basically global warming is a non-problem. He ridiculed Obama for stating that no challenge poses a greater threat to future generations than climate change. I say this to Obama, excuse me, Mr. President, but you're wrong, dead wrong. Giaever said, global warming really has become a new religion. Because you cannot discuss it, it's not proper. It's like the Catholic Church. The people behind the climate crisis scam are taking us back to the days of Galileo. Heretics are being fired, defunded, shot at, silenced. And then President Obama said, 97% of scientists agree climate change is real, man-made, and dangerous. The 97% number is completely fake and has no basis in reality. And the imaginary consensus is maintained by intimidating and silencing anyone who would speak against it. Everyone involved with climate science knows the rules and knows the danger of speaking up, so most choose to remain silent. What we are seeing is the climate inquisition. President Obama just bought a $15 million mansion on the beach at Martha's Vineyard. He obviously does not believe the hype he's been promoting about sea level rise. So let's listen to what Obama's agenda actually was.
Under my plan of a cap and trade system, electricity rates would necessarily skyrocket. Even, regardless of what I say about whether coal is good or bad, because I'm capping greenhouse gases, coal-powered plants, natural gas, you name it, whatever the plants were, whatever the industry was, they would have to retrofit their operations. That will cost money. They will pass that money on to consumers.
We were rescued from Obama's utterly insane plans by the fracking boom which took place on private land. He couldn't do anything about it and probably didn't even know about it until it was well underway. Now let's listen to his words of wisdom about how drilling can't lower energy costs.
You can anticipate we're going to be hearing a lot about how people have these magic three-point plans to make sure that you're only paying $2 a gallon gas. Just like we heard about it in the last election, just like we've heard about it for the last 30 years. And you know what the essence of their plan is going to be, which is step one, drill, step two, drill, step three, keep drilling. Now, if there's one thing I know about New Hampshire, it's that your political bull detector is pretty keen. It's pretty sharp. You know that we can't just drill our way to lower gas prices. There are no quick fixes or silver bullets. If somebody tells you there are, they're not telling you the truth.
Now let's look at what the fracking boom actually did. The fracking boom caused gasoline prices to plummet. Imagine the damage to the economy and how many people would have been hurt had Obama been successful at making electricity prices skyrocket. What's going on with climate alarmism is a political agenda. It has nothing to do with science. And anyone who goes up against the climate orthodoxy gets treated like Galileo, gets treated as a heretic. I only listed a few names in this video, but there are lots of other academics who've been treated in similar fashion for being climate skeptics. Visit Toto on the web at realclimatescience.com. He's been pulling back the curtain on junk science and propaganda for a long time.